Hello world. Welcome back to another, live stream of me working on a Learning Lab course. If you have tuned into any of these before, then you'll know that I'm building a Learning Lab course about working within large repositories. This has taken me some time, so this is like my 8th session, I think, my part 8, so 8 hours so far, going on 8 hours. I've got a lot of work done. So there's the course repository. If you're familiar with Learning Lab, there's a course repository that has the config, where all the logic of the course goes, and all the responses, so all the content. And there is also a template repository, and that's what is created for the learner when they register for the course. Where I'm at right now, the config is pretty much working. So I've decided the flow of the course, what I want the steps to be. It's not perfect. There are some things, we were running into some troubles with this create status action, but I believe I just saw that there had been a pull request that my colleague Hector did that hopefully fixed this, but we're not focusing on that right now. Last time we started on the responses, and today I'm hoping to finish the drafts of all the responses. That is a little bit of a aspirational goal because this is one of the hardest things, I think. It's not hard because it's technical, it's hard because it's important. This is the stuff that a learner will actually see. Like, this is going to define their experience of the course. So I go through, my process is to go through and just like draft stuff as I'm creating the config. So in the first couple of sessions I went through, and as I was defining the steps and what I wanted the learner to do, I would put something like this in here. Please merge, good job. Like, enough for my future self, which now today, hopefully I can go through and finish, like build out and see what's already in there and put whatever, I want the learner to actually see. I will also start with, let's see here. I'm going to start with just like drafts. So something that can be tricky about writing for me is balancing like being able to write fluidly and also like come back and edit, like not editing yourself while you're writing, at least not editing myself. So I use this web app called Hemingway, and I'll be using this throughout to kind of let myself write while I'm writing and then edit. Let's jump in. Okay, so where was I? I know that I went through the list just like this. Let's see, over here. Okay, this one's done, this one's done. And these are not perfect, like I'll probably come back and need to tweak a lot of stuff here. That's completely fine. This is just like, I want to get it to a point where I can have other people go through the course and give me true feedback. They can't do that if there's not true content. So your next steps are found here. I don't need that to be an exclamation point, but that's good. Here we go, this looks good. Did this one, and now, wow, I got further than I thought I did. Not too shabby. Okay, so context. Step 4, give more context. So let's look at those steps here so I can get back into the flow. So first, when the course is created, there's the first welcome issue, and then there's a similar issue that is linked. And we're like, hey, go close that issue, it's a duplicate. They close it. Then we're like, hey, please create a cross-link to this. There's another duplicate thing going on. Like, you practice making a cross-link. They do it. Then we're like, great. Now, sometimes you need to find things that are not issues. You need to find commits. Find the commit, comment the SHA. They're like, great, do that. And that's what they've just done. So here, or let's see. Yeah, so what I need to work on is O3 context. So they've just found the commit. And I'm like, good job. I made sure that they actually referenced the correct commit. And now I want to say, thank you for finding the commit. Next step is to, okay, here we go. So this is the description of this next step. Now that they've found the commit, we want to tell them how to find more context about that commit from GitHub. So we want to mention, and this is not true, it's not going to be mentioning the author. What we actually want them to do is, create another cross-link. Please leave a comment here and reference a pull request where the commit was created. Yes, so here I won't need to go back to the config. So this description is what will show up on the Learning Lab homepage. Mention, or let's see, create a link to the pull request where request where the commit was created. Okay. And then this is checking for, sorry, that's not what I expected to happen. This is going to check for that. Okay, great. So we need to go to context and say, okay, so the stuff I want to actually say here is when, let's see, when work happens in Git and GitHub, things are connected. As we've already seen, conversations that happen and issues and pull requests can be referenced after they've already happened. Let's see. Additionally, the amount of context goes much further. Git is version control. So, for example, the commit that you found in the last step is connected with with much more information. Information like who made the commit, what other changes were included when the commit was made, and what pull request the commit was a part of. This, I want to make that bold because that is, I think, really important. Which pull request the commit was a part of. Also, there might be some sounds here soon. My husband might be getting home from rehearsal, so he doesn't know that I'm streaming right now. So he doesn't usually start talking right when he walks in the door, but could be exciting. So the which pull request the commit was a part of, don't worry about the sentence. I know it's wordy. I'll clean it up in a second. But that point is important because the pull request, like, yeah, it's cool to know when a commit happened, but I want to know why that commit happened. The pull request is important because it goes beyond knowing when something happened, when a commit happened. You can know why a commit happened. Yeah. Okay, so then this is where we ran into the part, if you were watching, I was trying to have them, like, I want this to be like a real thing. And if I am a real person, which I am, and I am trying to, if I'm using git blame and I'm like, okay, if I'm doing that, I probably have questions about something. A recent example of this is I was looking for some subject matter experts on something. And I'd found an article that was written, it was in Markdown, it was committed, and I was able to go find who the authors were and what the pull request was. So I could see who approved it, who reviewed it, all that good stuff. If there were any issues related to it. And I used that information to actually find the people that wrote the article and ask them more questions about the topic. So it's one example. But I didn't, with Learning Lab, you can't ping the app. You can't mention the app the same way that you'd mention a person. And I think that could be more problematic than it's worth. So I want to explain, I want to tell that little story. So I'm going to do that. Let's do like a story, a couple stories about why this would matter. Because this type of thing, when I've done a ton of trainings with people and they don't really care until they can figure out, like in their day-to-day life, some examples of when this would be useful. It helps them to understand the actual capability of the product. Because like, what's the point of doing this? That's kind of important to learning something. So let's call this a few stories. Let's just call this, but why? I can rename everything later. And this we'll call a story about finding experts. Another story we could use, a story about an audit. Oh man, there's a lot of stories about audits and Git blame. Finding stuff quickly, finding the tests quickly. Oh, such a big difference. Makes a huge deal. A story about, so I think this one can be the story I just told. There's an audit story you could tell that is like, a company needs an audit and they could use it just exactly as you'd think, in kind of a negative way, something went wrong. But I think a cool story that is a real story I heard was somebody was able to find, like they were scared. There was an audit situation, something went wrong, and they were scared that they were going to be found out and like punished, punitive, like they just want to get people in trouble. But what actually was going on is they were looking for the tests to see what tests were run and how they could, if the tests were now correct and that the bug would not make it through their testing now. And in this context of this story, they're like, what if we could have had that whole conversation like in an issue? Like a story about, so maybe we can just make up a story about decision making, and we can rename that like everything later. Okay, time to write a story about finding experts. Imagine you find an internal article, or let's say white paper, on a really exciting topic. You can see that it's written in Markdown and it's versioned in GitHub. You can, let's see, so it's already a part of the master branch, but you want to know who wrote, you want to know who wrote, who's in charge, this white paper. Why does it have a problem with this way this word is spelled? A white paper on a really exciting topic. You're looking for experts to help you research this topic for an upcoming project. You can see that when you find this article, you're ecstatic. Not close. Not close spelling-wise. Okay, well, close enough. But there's no author referenced in the plain text. You can see that it's written in Markdown and it's versioned in GitHub. It's already a part of the master branch, but you want to know who was involved in creating this. You use git blame to see the authors, and you find the pull request associated with that branch. Now you can see who all of the authors were, who reviewers were, and if there are any other issues or conversations related to this topic. Just like that, you've found experts. You found the people at your company who can help move your project forward. Ta-da emoji, because it's exciting. That's how I felt. I felt very exciting. And for this particular project, it's actually still going on. Some of the experts that I'm working with, I'm calling them experts, because I don't want to just name them right here. But they're still really involved in the development of the project. They're super generous with their time, super helpful. I never would have known to even ask them in my company of 1,200 people. I never would have known to pick out this random person if I wouldn't have found that white paper and I'd done this exact thing. That gives me goosebumps, which means I need a hobby. But I'm really excited. I think it's cool that you can connect with people this way. Okay, a story about an audit. Maybe we just need one story. Let's just start with one story, because we don't want to overwhelm people with reading, and it's also so much stories. Okay, let's just do that. That first one's fine. You can mention people. Let's see. In the story above, you might want to mention the authors involved in the article. But in this course, let's just say we have other options. You may want to find them in person, or I don't know, set up another way to collaborate. In this case, let's bring the conversation. Let's bring awareness of the pull request and the commit. Let's change that sentence. In this case, we want to bring the information that you found through the commit to the greater conversation. I'm not even going to say that I'm a bot and you can't ping me. They don't need to know that. That's my personal bot business. It's none of their business. Also, they just don't care. So let's say we want to have a confirmation that okay, that's going to get edited later. That's what I tell myself constantly, make myself just move on. And here's the activity. Writing activity instructions are my favorite because it's just like do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. I've said this before on a stream, and I'm going to say it a million more times in my life. Teaching is 3 steps. You tell somebody to do something, you watch and see if they do it, and then you tell them if they did it or not, being as specific as possible. Repeat. That's it. So these instructions need to be do this thing. And then the bot is going to be watching, did they do it? And then we'll move forward. We'll give them that feedback. So can you please put in a comment here and reference the pull request where the commit was created? And then I see I left some other content here. Finding history is not about who screwed up, but really the bigger picture. Okay, so that's good stuff. I'm going to put that up here. Finding history is not about it's not about blaming anyone, but about finding the bigger picture, about seeing the bigger picture. Why were decisions made? Who was involved? Who requested? Who was involved? Who requested changes? And who approved them? I also want to add, why were decisions made? Who was involved? What were the test outputs, the build outputs and test results for each commit? That's huge. That is huge. That's something that pains me physically, that people, so many super, super smart people, do not realize that just by configuring your integrations, your whatever CI, DevOps integrations along whatever of your entire, tool chain, and integrating those with the status API, you can integrate those with GitHub so that you just have everything. It's you can go back and look at any commit and just find the whole test output, everything you could possibly need, and it's just there. It's not hard to find once you know where to look. People don't know that. That makes me just so upset. So please leave a comment here and reference the pull request where the commit was created. That's too long of a step because it makes my head spin. What we want them to do is first find the pull request, because that was not even in the instructions. So first we need to find the pull request where the commit was created. First actually before that, we need to be remember that commit you found? Keep a tab. Maybe I'll actually go back to this other one where I asked them, find the commit where the file was created. Find the commit where this created. And then copy the SHA, and I'm going to say, I want to tell them here, maybe keep that open in a separate tab. So I'm going to say, tip, it may help keep this page open. Well, let's see, once you find it, actually, no, you know what? Let's do it here. I'm trying to think where the best place would be to have them starting the tab. Find the commit, I'll do it here. Oops, clicking the wrong thing again. So you can see how I'm doing this. I'm doing an indented list thing. I want each step to still be a numbered thing. I want it to be less than a sentence. And here I'll do this italicized tip. start this process in a new tab to save yourself some physical pain. No, tip, start this process in a new tab since you will need it later. We'll just say that and then let them try to make good choices. So here they should hopefully have that open. In the tab where you found the SHA, the commit SHA in the last step. And now this, groan, because this is tricky. This is what I have to actually go through and find the thing, like where exactly I want to tell them to click. So let me think. Do I want to go, first let me just look. I'll go to Learning Lab components because it's relevant to this entire project and also open source. So what I'm talking about is, like, for example, I'll just pick a thing. In fact, I'll look at create status because I know this was just changed. If I'm looking at a specific commit, I go to blame and I'm here. So this is like what? Let's see, no, I want to click on a commit. And this is a cool view too this is a cool view that we haven't showed yet. Okay, let me make a note to myself. As I'm writing courses, I try to keep notes. So these are other things I need to go through. I'm just gonna make a new file and call it sep 23rd notes.md or the 4th, whatever. We are missing an opportunity to show the users what a really cool git blame looks like. Oh, the reason I'm so upset about that is because it is super cool. I'll turn off my weird screen thing. If anyone here, another plug for Dark Reader, open source Chrome plugin, if you get headaches looking at screens. Look at this. This is great because I can see, who edited this part. I can go back and look at an earlier revision. I can find exactly the commit. And our example right now doesn't do that much detail. It's just because it's only like a file added. It's the template project doesn't have this much history to work with. But that's a problem for another day because I need to finish these responses. So where the user is at so far, they've been able to do this, and I want them to click that little number. So maybe I should just take a screenshot of this bad boy and let's do it that way so that they can, let's do it like that. And then I will highlight it somehow and edit it. Because otherwise I think there's just no way they're gonna find, I can't look at this bright screen anymore. There's no way they're gonna find this little link. Because I want them to click that number and then they'll be taken to the pull request, which is awesome. That is an awesome thing that they need to know how to do. Okay, let's write some stuff, context. In the tab where you found the commit SHA and the last step. In fact, maybe up here I need to put it up here. A story about finding experts. Let's put it here. So that, because this is content, right? I'm going to add content about the fact you can find a pull request from a commit. I'm going to separate that from this step. Something that will drive me personally crazy because I think it's good instruction, good instructional design here, just designing these responses. Separate the content, what they need to know, background knowledge, from the steps, the instructions. This is a little bit of a gray area. I think of it as a transition, just describing what they're about to do, literally. One thing at a time, Brianna. Okay, so finding a pull request from a commit. So this is where they need to know how to do this. When you're looking at a commit on GitHub, you can see a lot of information. Let's make this 2 sentences. And let's look and see exactly what I do mean here. You can see a lot of information. That's probably enough. We've talked about it earlier. From this view, you can also find a link to the pull request in which the commit was created. That's a terrible sentence, but we'll work on it later. We'll use this ability, this step, this link. We'll use this. We'll do this in the next step. We'll use this in the next step. We'll use this next step. Okay, and then here I'm going to add this image. And I made that image in my desktop. I took a screenshot where I put everything. It's terrible. I'll put this in another screen because this is not something that the internet needs to just keep forever. And then, I don't have any images yet. So this is interesting. So I'm going to create a new folder here, images, and just drop it in here. Obviously, it's technically, not obviously, it's a binary file. Like having a ton of binary files is not super cute in Git. But this is fine because I'm not going to be changing it all the time and it's not enormous. I could talk for a year and a half about how binaries are stored in Git and how objects are stored in Git, and it's just like, I love it. And I'm going to call this, this is also not the image I want, so I'm going to delete this actually because I want to mark that image up a little bit. What I want to do is, so I'm going to open this here. God, it's a little tiny, isn't it? Okay. It's too much. I want to do something like circle it or highlight it or make everything else dark, but I don't know how to do that. I just am not skilled enough to do that. That's definitely not what I want to do. I want to just like draw a little circle around this thing, or like an arrow to that, and I don't want it to be white. In fact, I bet there's an arrow shape here. There is. Great. And I just need it to be like bright. I feel like pink is used a lot for this. I did an arrow, right? Pink. Isn't that normally a color that's used? Okay. Whatever. We'll like point up to there, and then let's add like a little box or something, and I don't want it to be filled in. Yeah. So this should be attention grabby enough so that people will be able to see what we're talking about here. We want them to be able to actually find the link that we're referring to. Now this is a little tricky, like when you're adding images to a course like this, you want to be careful, right? You don't want to do this for every single step. You don't want to overwhelm the learner, and it should be on purpose, like because of a few reasons. One, it can be a lot visually. You don't want to distract. But two, and I think more importantly, possibly, this interface, that like this exact image is way more likely to change in small ways in not that long from now. Who knows? I have no idea when this is going to change, when this interface is going to look just even slightly different, and let alone something big. And this is the kind of thing that somebody could get confused over. If it doesn't look exactly right, they could think they're not on the right page, like completely, and get really screwed up. So it's like a balancing thing. That's a risk that I'm taking here by doing this, because I think while that's a risk, there's a much higher risk of, if I describe this verbally, it could still move, and people still might not be able to find it. So let's just save that bad boy. And I closed the dadgum thing again. And then I will drag that into the images directory. Actually, yeah, I'll just do that now. I'll rename it to prlink.png. And then here, since this is just the beauty of Markdown, I'm always going to use alt text. This is a screenshot of a view of a commit on GitHub, highlighting the link to the pull request. That's pretty descriptive, right? And I'm pretty sure, oh, would you look at that? Thanks, VS Code. We'll see if it works later. Cute. All right, let me close out of that now. All right, let's see where we are. So keyboard activity. In the tab where you found the commit shop in the last step, click the link to the related pull request. It's kind of a long sentence, but I think it's good. Then we want to copy copy a reference, like a link, to this pull request. Comment with a link to that pull request. Oh, I need to be more specific. In this issue. So what is that pull request even? It's where they create the navigation. So it's add navigation. I create that in the before step. Add navigation is literally probably just called add navigation. So I'll just do that. I'll just give them that link to the add navigation pull request. We'll give them a few hints there. Because that also means, as I was going through testing this, there was one time when for some reason that link just didn't exist with that commit, which was super weird. And if that were to happen, then this throws them a bone. Like, they can still go, if they are able to find in the closed pull request and find this, they could still link it and move on. Because that would still be awesome. That would still be awesome. Okay, save. Oh, I need to give this a really descriptive name. So the general step is give more context. What I actually want them to do is reference the related pull request in this issue. Great. Nice and windy outside. Okay, let's commit this. That took a longer time than I was hoping, but it's okay. I'm still on my troubleshooting branch. That's totally fine. And these are not the most atomic commits in the world. That's also fine. I'm way less worried about it now since the course is not really fully draft 1.0 yet. Once it's 1.0, then that matters a little more. Git add everything, git commit -m working on responses. That's still, I can do better than that. Draft further responses through step 3. Okay. So context, done. Find the broken build. So is there nothing else that is commented there? There's nothing else. It's just like, no, go find it. Simple. Okay. Since it is in the same issue, I don't need to point to it. Fine. Find the broken build. I'm so excited for this to work. Find the pull request and failing build. Okay, and then fix build. Okay. Find the broken build. Something fantastic about historical context of development is the ability to, is the references to other work related to the commits. For example, with commit history, you can find any test history that is associated within GitHub. GitHub. I think that's fine. I wish, but see, the thing that makes so where I'm, okay, talking out loud. If I were teaching somebody this in person, I would want to go show them that as an example. I mean, they are going to see it themselves here. They're going to go find a pull request with the failing build. So is that, oh, you know what would be cool? I might write myself a note. Let me make these little bullets. It would be cool if the link or the commit that we have them find has a, oh God, that wouldn't be that hard. Has a status and some kind of message and a message with the status. Because that would really be that, that version of me showing them an example. If that were in person, I'd pull up the Electron repository. Look at all these tests they've got. Let's pull the Visual Studio Code. You can see with a commit all this other context. So here we can do a little bit of that. Maybe we should do an example still. Let's just real life examples. If you'd like to see what this looks like in working and active repositories, take a look at, and then let's find some examples. Electron or Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. You can look through pull requests, look at the status of a commit or a pull request, and possibly, and depending on the source of a status, maybe even see the output of a log. Then I'll link to those things later. Oh, I tried to hurry through that so I wouldn't forget what I was thinking about. Oh yeah, I want to do that other thing. I want to set a status to this other one. That's a step, I'll worry about that later. I need to get through these responses as they are, and I'll just come in with that later. I really think these courses, building a course is such a test in like executive function. It's like, which I don't have great of. It's like, there are so many things to focus on, but I have to make myself focus on certain parts of it at a time, or else it'll just be all over the place. I don't do a great job, but I do okay. So step 5 is find the broken build. In fact, let's rename this to be build statuses associated, or build statuses commit context, for more commit context. Let's just say that. Real life examples. Find the broken build. So information they need to know just about before they do this activity. There's an open pull request, poll, in this repository with a failing status. Yeah. Before we fix it, let's find it. Keyboard activity. So what I want them to do, step by little tiny step, look in, let's see, in the pull requests. Is that tab request or requests? Requests. In the pull requests tab, and I'll link to that, find the pull request with the failing build. And then the next step is assign yourself to it. And I'll even give them more detail. On the right, using the, what is it? Let me look at that pull request and see what I should call that. Using the section, in the assignee section, using the assignee section, 2 stars. On the right side, assign yourself to that pull request, to the pull request. Great. I'm thinking, where am I going to respond to them? I think I'm going to respond to them in that new pull request. So that is step 5. They assign themselves pull request assigned. I respond in that pull request. So let me tell them that here. I will respond in your next one. I think it's, I'm going to look for there's a, like this. Not great at using my words. This will format it a little bit differently and really call out what I'm trying to say. I will respond with your next steps in that pull request. And typically I'd link them to wherever I'm going to respond, but I'm not going to do that here because I want them to find that on their own. That's the whole purpose of this activity. In the pull request tab, I'm going to use this variable here, repo URL / pull requests, polls. Great. There are other links here. So let's go to Electron and just like fill out these links here. These are some open source projects that I linked to and showed a lot when I was teaching. These are big projects. So there's a lot of failing builds here, but really what I want them to just do is come look at a project, look for the builds. I don't really need to give them too much here. Let's see, Visual Studio Code, GitHub. And it's a balance, right? I don't want to do too many links out, so I might change this later. But I think it's fine. We'll just link to this pull request. We'll make sure that they actually have the builds. Yeah, they've got some builds there. Now, for the moment of truth, let's put this into Hemingway. I feel like it's not terrible. Grade 6 with the links. Okay, I'll take that. Something fantastic about historical context. Okay. Again, Hemingway. I love it because it helps me prune. Makes things more readable. Is references to other work related in the commits. Something fantastic about historical, that's so much. What I really care about saying is historical context of development includes references to other work, like to other related work, like tests. And then I don't need anything about that. Okay, great. For example, with commit history, you can find any tests, and so that I don't even need. I already said it. It's more simply. Great. Real life examples. If you'd like to see what this looks like, and I'm going to check that sentence without the links, I'm just going to paste it again, but then get rid of the links just to double check. I think it should be fine. Yeah, okay, I already know it's fine. That's fine. You can look through pull requests, see status, see commit statuses, see pull request statuses, and we don't need that whole thing. And maybe even see log output, log outputs, outputs. Doesn't like that I'm using maybe, but it's fine. Find the broken build. There's an open pull request in this repository. Oh, okay, the rest was fine. Okay, cool. Copy and paste. Oh wait, I'd copied again. And I also realized I did not put this one through it. So let's do that. When work happens in GitHub, things are connected. All right. That's not super, that's not a super instructive sentences. As we've already seen, conversation, that sentence can just go away. And that happened in issue and pull requests can be referenced after they've already happened. Conversations in pull requests and issues and pull requests can be connected. How about that? It doesn't love that it's passive. So let's say conversations and issues and pull requests can reference other conversations. Or other work, can reference other work. Cool. But the amount of context goes much further than crosslinks. Git is version control. Let's see, remember, Git is version control. So, for example, that's a lot. For example, the commit that you found in the last step is connected with much more information. Okay, information like who made the commit. Let's do this. Who made the commit? This is going to be kind of a long response, but I think it'll be fine. Man, it keeps going to the bottom. It's annoying. Who made the commit? Holy mackerel. What other changes were included? It's going to go to the bottom. I can just tell you right now. Yep, when the commit was made and which pull request the commit was a part of. And I don't think that needs to be italicized. I think I just got really excited earlier. And the pull request is important because it goes beyond knowing when a commit happened. You can know why a commit happened. I think that's good. That's fine. Finding history is not about blaming anyone, but about seeing the bigger picture. When were decisions made? Who was involved? Okay, that's fine. Story about finding experts. Imagine your internal life people. Again, wow. You can see that it's written in March. So I'm just like going through here, just trying to make sure it's readable. You can see who all the authors were, who the reviewers were, if there are any other. See, that's fine. Yeah, grade 5. I will take a grade 5. If a 5th grader can read this and understand what's going on, then I think we're in good shape. Git add, git commit, let's say draft response for step 4. Okay. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. Just clean them up a little bit. Okay. So we're doing pretty good. Well, we've gotten through like 2 in 45 minutes, so it's fine. Fix the build. Why does this matter in relation to the content of this course? Oh, that's a question for me. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Instructions to fix the build. Correct. What they're going to do is correct the spelling to fix the build. Fix the build. I don't think an explanation is needed right there. I'm going to start with the activity, the actual instructions. Edit the file in this pull request. What's the pull request even? The broken one. It's not the navigation one. It's the get tips. So edit the, I'm going to look at the, let's take a look at the course repository. What is it? I think it's just called get tips. We can change that later if that's like, that's a little thing. I don't need to go into a ton of work here. Edit the doc/gettips.md file. Correct the spelling of the word tricks. So it's and changing it into tricks, just in case somebody's not an English speaker as their first language and they're like, I don't even know what word you're trying to talk about, lady. Commit those changes. That's fine. That's all I need to do. Why does it matter? So basically, we want them to just see that another status can be associated with a commit, I think. Yeah, let's say that. Okay, so now that you've seen that a status can be associated with a commit, let's fix this pull request up. The commit that you make will not only show in history as a fixing, not only show the work you've done in history, but it will also show that you fixed the status as a part of a bigger picture. People in the future could look for this work and find out who made the fix, what the build status was before the fix, who asked you to make the fix, etc. This type of contextual information is hugely important, can be hugely important. Can be hugely important later and is created without any extra work from a developer like you. Great. I think that's actually fine. I just need to get this link. So I want to link to that, the edit view. You can do this locally. I'll just actually edit to that. I'll just make that whole thing a link. I do not recall exactly the best way to do that, so I'm going to go to an example here. Probably Introduction to GitHub has it in its config. So what I'm looking for is exactly, or it's in a response probably, how to go into like actually editing a file. There's a really easy way, but I don't know if it's in here. So what I'm going to do is, I keep all the learning labs here, and I'm just going to open this up in Visual Studio Code and just search. I'm going to search like edit. It's probably going to be too many. Can be editing? Yeah, way too many. Config. Here we go. So we have to use this. That's fine. So where is this? This is in the Actions Workflow course. Okay. Action Workflow, and it's Improve Deployment. So I'm just going to open up that specifically. Actions Workflow. so there's not so many files. So I need to look an example. So that's a huge thing since this is all open source. That helps a ton. And I know it was the include or improve development one. Yeah. And then I'm going to look in the config for that improved deployment. So that's when it's gone here. And this is this data URL thing that I want to use. So the way that's going to look is I'm going to go to the config in this step. So this is the O5 fix build. Happens here, and I'm going to create this reference data URL. But the actual file is not going to be here. It's going to be in docs. And this is important that it's correct. I'm pretty sure it's going to be gettips.md. Let me double check that by going to, let me cd into it, into the template. And let me just look at the branch. It's on add get tips. Oh, what have we got? Yeah, gettips.md. Okay. We're back. So that's fine. And then here we're saying this is just going to be URL. Is that how they do it in the improved deployment URL? Okay, cool. So that should work. That should reference that specific URL. So let's talk through that a little bit, what I just did. So I wanted to link to a certain thing that was not static, but also not one of the built-in things. So what I did was made this, where was it? This data and URL. I could name URL whatever I want, so you can have multiple of these per step. And this is coming from the payload. So this is from the pull request. The payload comes from there, so I know this will be fine. And it's just, we could also just use URL/edit master docs. Yeah, that's probably cleaner, isn't it? But I don't want it to be editing on master. I want it to be editing on the name of that branch, which was add get tips. So I'm glad I looked at that. And then actually, yeah, I think I'm not gonna use this because I think it's just more complex than it needs to be. Let's just call it repo URL and then /edit. And we'll of course test this to make sure that it works properly. Commit your changes, commit the changes. Okay, and I do want to say edit this file on this add get tips branch. I want to be as specific as possible. Okay, whew. Let's run this bad boy through Hemingway. Uh-oh, did I close it? No, here we go. Grade 5, not bad, but this sentence is all red, that whole block. Now I just need to be associated with the commit. The commit you make will not only show you the work you've done, that's fine. People in the future could look for this work and find out lots of things. They could find who made the fix, what the build status was before the fix. This type of contextual information can be important later and is credited in this type of, so I don't think that part, the first part, is important. This type of information, this information is created without any extra work. This information is created automatically without any extra work from the developer. And I think the only reason that says it's red is because it's connected. So let's get rid of that. Was before the fix. Okay. I think that's in pretty good shape. Pasting that in there. Please merge, good job. Okay, let's commit this step 5 before I get too carried away. Git commit-m draft response for step 5, and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling close because even though it's only 5 minutes to the hour, there's only 3 more things. Okay, I'm just gonna go over the hour that I had planned. I'm just gonna do it because I really wanna just be done with this. So let's look at the config, what happens. So they fix the build, we check the status, and we're like, great, please merge. And that's the step. That's the step, right? Why didn't I? Okay. So I'll just say step 6, merge this pull request. And I'm following the same format that I always do. Activity. In fact, just merge. Merge this pull request. There's not a ton of information I need to tell them right now. I did most of the stuff about why they were doing what they were doing earlier. So I'm not going to include that here. Merge this pull request. Delete the branch. That's fine. I'm cool with that. I think that's fine. Git s, git add, git commit, draft response for step 6. And then 07, congratulations. Great job. You can find your final issue here. Oh, that's not, look at it. I already put the link in there and everything. Hot dog. So really, there's just one. You did it. Congratulations. Great job. In this course, you've learned a lot about finding and sharing information. Finding and sharing information. Within a GitHub repository, you can find history about what changes were made, and more importantly, why changes were made. And then how to enable GitHub pages. If you'd like to see this project on GitHub pages, go to the settings tab of this repository and scroll down. Then under GitHub pages, select the master branch. Oh, that's specific. That's super specific. I want to make sure that I tell them the right thing here. The reason, so I know how to, I've talked about this a lot, like I have those instructions in my head, but there's something specific with this. They're not just doing it from the master branch. It's from master branch docs folder. So I want to say that. Master branch docs folder. Master branch docs folder as the source. And then I think there are some things, exit out of those. I wonder if there's some templates that we've used for other courses for like their congratulations issue. Projects, GitHub, labs. So I just want to peek and see like the what will you learn next kind of thing. Let's go to communicating using Markdown. Why not? More to learn, success. Here we go. What's next? Oh, this is a ton of stuff. That's a way huge one. Here, this is what I'm looking for. Want to keep learning? Feel free to check out the other courses. I won't respond on this issue. Just close it when you're done. Great. And then I'm going to go here, link them to the course repo URL /settings. Okay. Okay, yay. I'm going to commit this before, oh man, before my fingers fall off. Git add, git commit -m, draft, content for final congrats issues. Okay, and then I'm gonna push. Okay, so let's go look, because the last time I had looked, the pull request had failed, like some problems. So I want to take a look and just see what those are. And then I'll end here soon. So that when we get back next time, it'll be like fixing this and going through the course, seeing if the create status thing is fixed at all. These are the bugs I found. So just, that's fine. So it already is up there. Close the linked issue does not match the schema. Title is not allowed. So close issue schema. Let's go to the docs. Lab.github.com/docs/. slash actions. Close issue. I thought it was title, but obviously it's not. Oh, it's issue. Okay, that's fine. That's hopefully not such a big deal. Let's find that one. Close issue. And then should be issue instead of title. No big deal. Git s, git add, git commit. Replace title with issue in close issue event, or in close issue action. Not to be confused with the GitHub action. And then with how fast that got there last time, I'm not expecting this to take too long. At least if it's a really obvious mistake. If it's not an obvious mistake, it might take longer. It would just be really nice to leave this on a nice note of when it could pass. Nope, failure. Okay, tell me everything, GitHub Learning Lab bot. Why are you failing? Can you tell me? Can you tell me what's wrong? Let's see. No, it doesn't want to. That's okay. Let me look at the environment and see. Oh, of course, it's production. Okay. I expect it to tell me its problem. I might just need a little bit of time. If it doesn't tell me its problem, then we'll really be having an exciting time together next time. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. It's a sign. It's 2 minutes over when I said I was going to stop working on this. Next time, since I'm done with the main content, I'll be going through the course, going through my notes again, just making sure I can get through it, try to see if that create status thing is fixed. Working towards the goal of letting people finally test it themselves. Yay! All right, thanks everybody. Bye.